I am very aware how far people currently are from understanding me, from understanding who I really am, understanding what it means to live within my system. Over many, many centuries, people have gone into a state of, you can say, functioning that has become actually very disconnected from me. And yes, this is a statement that everyone will agree with, but it is nonetheless important to make that statement. Because we can continue to nod to each other and say, oh yes, that's exactly true, but the real question is, what does it mean that you are beginning to be aware of that, and what can you do to change that? Because we all agree that change is needed. And many people, organizations are talking about change. And a lot of those ideas are very important, but do they really come from an understanding of the total system, or are they coming from an understanding of an aspect of my system? And I have to say that mostly it comes from understanding an aspect of my system, which has as a disadvantage for me that it not necessarily, even though it's good for a certain aspect, is not necessarily good for the whole. And that is the key word, the whole. My system is a little bit like your system. You can definitely function with certain things not completely be in alignment. Yeah, you're a little bit miserable maybe, or you go to a doctor or whatever you do, but you still to some degree can function, unless the stress and the dysfunction is growing, and then at a certain moment you can't. Well, you're very aware that the only way to truly heal your system is through what you nowadays call a holistic approach. It's not only a physical system, it's also an emotional system and a mental system, and there is a spiritual part, and all of that are dynamically interacting with each other. And you need to understand that in order to understand yourself. And the point is, it's exactly the same situation with me. You are in some ways a reflection of me. It means that the number of energy bodies that we both have is similar. And it all is supposed to resonate with each other. And every being that lives in my system is in some way resonating with an aspect of me. And that's why diversity is so important, because it's the only way to allow the full expression of who I am, in the same way that you need to learn to work with all the microorganisms in your system in such a way that the whole system functions as a harmonious whole. That's where you're standing for. That is what the key in this moment is. Not anymore about, oh, let's do this way from a limited understanding of my system, because it will never lead to true solutions. You literally need to change not only your thinking, but also your feeling, your sensing, and the whole way you approach this planet, me. There are systems that claim to have a good overview of what I am, but they all are based on mostly physical aspects, mostly based on what is visible, physical and visible. But I'm far more than that, in the same way as you are far more than that. And without taking that into account, without the willingness to look at my whole, and we come to the same word, the holistic approach, is not possible to resolve. In the same way as you cannot truly heal your system without a holistic approach. And that is what my invitation is. To begin to think holistically. To be willing to look beyond the visible and the physical. To look at the totality of my system. And when I say look, I don't mean with your physical eyes, but with your beingness, with your heart, with that system of yours that you call extrasensory, but is actually an inherent part of you. Only then you can begin to see me. Only then you can support each other in finding solutions you could not find before that. This is a time, and I've mentioned that many times, a time of transition. And a part of the transition is the way to look differently at the whole. Holistic. I can feel that, in a sense, a certain group of people is ready to look at that holistic system that I am. And that is my invitation, and will be my invitation in the coming times. In this time of transition, the main transition will be a different way of looking, a different view. Metaphysical ecology, as you call it, is such a different view, because it looks at my system as a totality, visible and invisible, physical and energetically, subtle and from information perspectives. All of it is included in metaphysical ecology. And in that sense, depending on how you fill it in, it could be a description of a holistic view of my system, helping and guiding people to find different solutions, to start working differently. And it doesn't mean stop doing everything on the physical level. No, that is still very important, because most of what you have done is messing up the physical system, and you need to take care of that. But the solutions cannot come only from there. That's why it's important to bring all the knowledge that's already existing about my total system, metaphysical ecology of my system, together in such a way that people begin to understand the whole. It's not yet about the details. You can never go to the details if you don't understand the whole. Otherwise, you do again this separate approach. In the same way as you do that in most of your medical science, where people have become such specialists that they cannot see the whole anymore. There are people that need to be able to see the whole in the same way as you need people to see more details. And they should never fight with each other, they should collaborate with each other, because both are needed. There are not many people who can oversee the whole, and that's why it's important for those who can to create an overview. You were talking about Metaphysical Ecology 101. That is an overview of my system, and there is enough understanding to begin to formulate that. And that will attract people to work more on the details. And both are needed. But then every detail can be placed in the whole. And that's how you begin to understand my system. But there is a word of warning, because you have not been able to do that on a physical level. Simply because on the physical level you were caught in your need to have certain, you can say, levels of comfort. And some of it you need to let go. Still, you can be comfortable, but excessive money and excessive richness is an out of balance system, because it means that certain things are not flow harmoniously through my system. Some of the concepts that are very, very difficult for certain people to understand. Stuck in some ways and not enough in other ways is the same way as saying, oh, there is not enough energy for them, there is a lot of energy for me. And what happens is you get only disbalance. So you're looking actually at a double challenge. The challenge to see how systems are functioning, and then the willingness to see what that means. Because once you oversee the whole, you also will understand that certain things need to change in your physical lives. The choice is entirely up to humanity. You can say, for me, my evolution is very clear. And in this time of transition is also a time of choice for you. The transition will happen. But how do you see yourself in it? Do you want to see yourself going through this transition and being part of what the outcome will be? These are the questions you need to answer. Because whether you like it or not, my system as a natural system is seeking for healing and balancing the whole. And there are many ways that the whole can function. Yes, within certain laws, within certain parameters, but still the whole can function in many different ways. I invite you all to start this process of seeing me as a holistic system, sharing with each other the knowledge about it, and working out more details to allow that total system to function optimally, because then you will thrive as well, as will all my children. Know that I will always support you. I support you in whatever direction you choose to go. But the true joy and the true happiness and the true feeling of potential, of love, of expansion, that is something that you need to co-create with me. I would suggest not to wait. I would suggest to start now. And I'm very happy that I have the opportunity to share this with you, because this is essential.